Hey everyone, it's Stephen Christie Realty Group. Today I thought I'd talk about the buyer search and then talk about buyer expectation, seller expectation, and offers. So let's talk with the buyers today and talk about your searches. So it's getting a little bit frustrating because as you can see, there's very low inventory. So you're going to all these different sites, whether it be these big company brands, and going, okay, hey Stephen, tell me about this home. And I'll go, well, that home's actually under contract. And you're wondering, why does it not show up there? And there's an IDX feed now that we have to have as real estate companies, and we can feed straight to our websites. So the big brands don't really have the direct IDX feed because they're on so many different MLSs, whereas we can get you direct information right away. So I always tell everybody, hey, go back to my site and check out if the home's available or not, and I'll be able to get you really quick, instant updates and then feeds. So the idea is it's really getting frustrating for a lot of people because they want to see homes that are actually already under contract or pending. Let's talk about that too. So under contract means that they finally put an offering together and they still have inspections and other contingencies until they get to pending. Once they get to pending, that means that basically the buyer's all in, all the contingencies are removed and are ready to go to the next phase. So I wrote a bunch of different notes for you guys today to update you. So let's talk about the buyer and how to be best prepared to actually get an offer in and accept it. So I always different ideas. So number one, have all documentation ready. I mean, what you need to have is everything ready before you even start looking today. So the first thing I put down, verification of your funds. You have to know and have that ready for your agent to make sure that they are prepared to show where your funds, your down payment is, and it's accessible for the actual deal to go through. Number two, full loan approval. So what I would say, and I do with my clients, they go, hey, what should I mean by loan approval? Should I talk to your lender? I go, no, let's get your documentation in. Let's make the only contingency is the appraisal and the loan, that you have everything done. So what I would say is get full loan approval. So make sure that your lender has all your information so that he knows and she knows that you can get under, make sure you're qualified and approved. Now, expectations on the offer stage. Let's talk about that. Now, terms. Make sure you have your 3% deposit on every offer. The idea of making an offer today is so you don't get a counter offer or so you look better than everybody else. Because again, in a great home today, there's about 5, 7, maybe even 10 offers coming in, and you have to look the best. So basically, put your best suit on for the prom. So make sure that you have financing match your pre-approval. So when you have a pre-approval letter, make sure it matches your offer. Don't have anything short because people are gonna actually have a red flag on you. Make sure to check off everything correctly. So when you actually sign a contract, and I see a lot of contracts today because we do have a lot of listings, and I see that agents don't mark off everything correctly. So that means it's a big red flag to have a counter offer. You do not want to have a counter offer if you can actually avoid this. So making sure everything's filled out correctly and having all the information available will really help when you actually get the offer out. Now, let me talk about seller's terms. Make sure you're actually matching up what the seller expectation is. If you need to have your agent, like myself, I'll call the other agent, talk about the sellers, see what's important to them, talk about time frames. So time frames are going to be big. So you think about, do they need to move right away? Do they want some extra time? You may have to do either a longer escrow, which would make them happy, or maybe a rent back. There's different scenarios you got to look at. Now, also time frame to close. So you got to understand, can the people close on certain time frames? Make sure you match up to what the seller expectation is so that they see you working with them. Now, contingencies. You remember when we said less is more? So the idea of a chance is less contingency factors. If you feel and you know today you're going to overpay for a property, then you know the appraisal may not come in. So what you're going to have to do is go, hey, I'm all in, and they get it. And one way of saying that is maybe remove the appraisal contingency. Less contingencies, maybe lower the time frames of contingencies. That means that the seller knows you're in and they don't have to go all the way through this deal and then have you fall out. That's really important, okay? Now, let's talk about as a seller. Now, do you understand the process of a seller today? They've been waiting for this market. Now, you remember when it was the buyer's market and the sellers were just going through all these different things and terms? Now the seller's going, okay, I want someone who's really in on my property. Now, they are looking at this place as who's the right buyer for my home, who's actually sincere on their offer, who's going to stay in the escrow. As you can see, a lot of escrows today don't go all the way through. You'll see them come back to market. That's because one, there's an appraisal issue, two, lending issue, and they don't want that to happen to them. So let's talk about what the seller and buyers look at together, okay? So once we knew what is the highest offer and best offer, so we understand the highest offer is not always the best offer. The highest offer may have other contingency factors that make it possible to fail. All cash is not always the best offer either. Because if you have another clientele coming in with 50% down, 40% down, it's pretty much like all cash and they're pre-approved. You're pretty much on the same page. So you have to understand that as a seller, the all cash or the highest offer may not be the best position because they will just tie your home up and not close the deal. And then you're out there trying to get a backup offer for your home. Inspection timeframes. So when you go through timeframes and inspections, make sure that you disclose everything and make sure that the consumer understands in this inspection, you're buying the home the way it is. Now, here's the biggest problem you have. Your home looks amazing when you actually show the home, but then you get to inspection and you don't keep it in the same look. Keep that home looking just as good in the inspection so that you can get a really fair look from the inspector itself. And then be open to negotiations, okay? So even when you get into the deal and things are going through, think about other things may come up. And in my case, I always look at real estate after 4,200 some odd transactions in 30 some odd years. Everything's negotiable. Everything there's a solution to. Work the solutions. Don't just avoid it. Make sure to communicate it. Make sure that everybody understands what the expectations are and negotiate to make it win. All I can say is enjoy this ride. Sellers, you don't know how long this is going to last. It just reminds me a lot of 2007 and 8. And I gotta tell you, things changed pretty quick then. So if you're thinking about selling, then get a new evaluation, get yourself ready to move. If you think you want to be moved in this next year, then it's time to take action. Get aggressive, take advantage of what the market's giving you today. This is all I can tell you for today. This is my advice. Hope you're having a great day. Stephen with the Christie Realty Group.